Good day, good day, good day. No matter where you are and what part of the world you're in, I hope that you're having a good day. So, I wanted to kind of piggyback off a video I did this the other day. And I am right now, um, I just finished up a 10-week class. And one of the things that was pointed out to me is that I may be purging right now, right? And purging could look different ways. Could look like vomiting. It could look like, you know, loose stool, loose bowel movements. It could look like depression. It could look like anxiety. Um, so it can show up in different ways. And for me, I feel like right now I'm in a state of feeling anxious. And let me share with you. And this is not me bragging, so don't take this the wrong way. But in my efforts to make success steps to succeed, right? And ironically, this happened on Thursday, September 14th, which was the same day as the new moon. And Mercury retrograde ended on September 15th, which was yesterday, Friday. So, in my steps to become successful, right? And change my environment, change my thoughts. In 2012, the seed was planted in my mind to start meditating. In 2013, when Oprah and Deepak did their 21-day meditation, I started meditating. At that same time, I found out my father passed away that April. So, April, as I was doing that meditation series. And one of the things that I found out is that I had a fear of abandonment and a fear of rejection, right? Um, and that all came out because of a guy I was talking to at that time, and I was really overreacting. And I realized it wasn't about him, it was more so about me, because everything's about the individual and not the person that they may be projecting their thoughts or feelings onto, right? So, again, in my efforts to become successful, um, I've earned a master's degree, right? I've applied to a countless number of jobs, and one of the jobs that I applied to, and I was thankful for this feedback because it made a lot of sense to me, was at a credit union, was a part-time cashier position, and I went applied through a temp agency, and so the lady at the temp agency gave me feedback because we were wondering why I was not getting calls back, right? And she said the manager at the temp agency, who was also same nationality as I, she said she didn't want to hire me because she felt that I would leave, and um, she thought I wouldn't stay, and because I have a master's degree and she does not, and she was afraid that I would take her job away from her. And I thanked her for sharing that with me. And then I went on to say to myself, so you mean to tell me I can't eat because someone else is jealous or intimidated by me? The fact that I have a master's degree, it's like, wow, you've been there longer. You already have, you know, a position. How can I? No one can take something away from you that you already have. But anyway, um, earned a master's degree, earned various certifications. So I have my life coaching certification, I have a yoga certification, and I have a Reiki master certification. I've started a business. So I've started my coaching business, and I started a business where I'm making all natural products and gotten good reviews on those products. The products are good. Even to a point where Unilever, Johnson and Johnson, and like three other companies were watching my channel and watching my page. And I found that out from an interview I did years ago with a radio show, and she was like, like, what did you realize this and how do you feel about it? And I didn't even know at the time. So I was thankful that she you know, she did such thorough research that she was able to pull that out. Um, because again, this is knowledge behind the scenes that you don't know what you don't know, right? Um, After being in business for a while, I then went back into the workforce, right? And although I've done a variety of things, majority of my experience is in customer service. So it's kind of like I got pigeonholed into customer service, right? Um, I've also um, done hair, right? Where I was a assistant manager at a hair salon, and then I went on to applying lace wigs for clients, most of which had cancer or alopecia or some other type of hair loss. And so they were pretty much prostheses placing on, and people would say, "Oh my God, you missed your calling. This is what you're supposed to be doing," because they liked that I'm a good listener and always have been. And this is one of the reasons why I was like, well, why am I always giving people advice, right? Even married couples, like, how is it that married couples are coming to me for advice and I've never even been married? So there, I realized there was something about me that people gravitate towards. But of course, later on down the line, I realized that um, I attract people who need my help. So um, people who have experienced trauma to any degree or on any level, they will come to me for help, and a lot of people are like that. um so going back into the workforce, worked multiple jobs, worked long hours, and still feeling like, why isn't this thing happening, why isn't this success happening, right? If that makes sense. I hope that that makes sense. um basically the result was still feeling challenged financially, and I choose my words wisely, right? Still feeling challenged financially even after doing all these things, right? So when something's on my mind, I'm very intuitive. So when something's on my mind, answers come to me. If I ask, the answer is going to come out. So I'm watching YouTube, and Dr. Ramani and Lisa Bilyeu come up. Lisa Bilyeu has a show called Women of Impact, and her husband has a show, can't think of the name of his right now, but it's something about impact as well. Um, but anyhow, this video comes up. And I was like, wow. I think I was putting some clothes away that I folded. And I was like, okay, this video's come up. It's meant for me to listen to it. And I started listening, right? So if you want to watch it, the title of the video is When a Narcissist Loses Control of You, They Will Do This to Trap You. Dr. Ramani, right? This is on YouTube. So I'm going to read to you the transcript. Transcript starts, this part of the transcript starts at 23 minutes and 39 seconds. So Lisa asks Dr. Ramani a question, and Dr. Ramani is a narcissistic abuse expert. She was abused. She is the survivor of narcissistic abuse from her parents. She has gone no contact, and ironically, I decided to distance myself and go no contact. But at some point in time, I was like, okay, I guess I was told, right, that at some point in time you have to go back into this situation and do your best, basically, not to be triggered by it. And that made me feel very anxious and very uncomfortable because that's not something that I wanted to do. And again, this was last year, if I'm not mistaken. She came up into my video feed, her and Lisa. It was a different video. So I haven't watched any of these videos in a very long time. So for it to come up in my feed, means that I was supposed to watch it, right? So anyway, she's gone no contact from her parents, and she has no intentions of going back into the lion's den, right? This is what I'm calling it, the lion's den. Um, and so she gave me the confidence to continue on going no contact from the narcissistic abuse that I received. And a lot of therapists say that you're not supposed to diagnose someone with narcissism. However, if you know that you've experienced those narcissistic traits, or abusive tendencies, then 9 times out of 10, you were in a narcissistic, you were, you are the survivor of a narcissistic abuse, or you may still be the victim of narcissistic abuse if you're still dealing with that person or in relationship with that person, whether it be a parent, a spouse, or another relative or friend, a boss, a coworker, whatever that situation is, because they're all around. And I know that this has become a very popular word, but Dr. Ramani was also explaining this term has been in existence for at least 100 years. It's just become more popular within the last 10 years because people are getting therapy more often, and they're actually seeing what has happened, and then realizing that they're not just crazy or weird, that they actually experience this. And for people who have not experienced this, it's not so easy to wrap your brain around, especially when, people who decide to go no contact or distance themselves and only put themselves in that line of fire on occasion, like maybe every 3 holidays or every 5 years. Because I know people who only go around their relatives every 3 years, every 3 to 5 years, right? They don't subject themselves to that on a regular basis because they know it's toxic, right? So here's what this is, Lisa asked a question. They were talking for a while, obviously, and they were mainly focused on the romantic relationships. Like, if you're married to a narcissist and living with this narcissist, what do you do? How do you respond? So then Lisa goes on to ask, what should you tell yourself in those moments? Because I'm always trying to play that, and the person that's hearing it, the person that maybe recognizes it, but also the person that actually believes it. And so if you're the person, and she's talking about believing that you're good enough. So if you're the person that starts to believe it, what are the things you can do to start to do? Because you may know it's a manipulation tactic, right? But also it still can feel very well, especially if they're pressing on the thing that you really are insecure about. So I'm reading the transcript. I copied and pasted the transcript from YouTube, and I actually have the numbers of when this line starts. So it sounds a little choppy, and sometimes the transcript doesn't translate it exactly. So I may have been missing some words here or there, or they may have put a different word in place of something. But anyway, I hope that makes sense. It does not always exact what was said in the video to what's written in the transcript. But anyway, she's basically asking, what should a person do if they know that they're being manipulated by a narcissist? And that they're basically pressing on the thing that you're insecure about, right? And so Dr. Ramani basically responds by saying this. She says, couple things. Number one, there's no quick, and again, this is somebody verbally speaking, and sometimes we don't speak in complete sentences. We'll have a thought and then we'll change the thought. So just keep that in mind as I'm reading this, because I'm reading the words exactly as I see them, right? She says, number one, there's no quick, if a person's going through a narcissistic relationship for long enough, and especially they grew up with a narcissistic parent, the voice never goes away. And as I say this, and I say this as a survivor at 57 years old, sitting in front of you, I will never believe what I do is good enough. I look at the draft of my book, which we'll be talking about in the months to come. I'm like, no one's going to read this. And I look at my YouTube, no one's going to watch this. I look at everything I do, I'm not very good. And people are like, how do you not see you're doing good work? I'm like, you know what? Let's not even have that conversation. And I've said this in my own therapy. I said to my therapist, let's be clear, I'm never going to get there. And I'm not wasting any more time trying to get there. I'm not going to. But what I am going to believe is that I'm going to keep doing work I think is helping people. And when I get the feedback that's hitting it, it's not even directly from people, it's from my staff saying, yeah, it's working. Here's the numbers. We we know they're even and we know here's the numbers. We and they're even on to, like, you don't think you're doing a good job. It's basically saying, we know you don't think you're doing a good job. But the numbers are there. We're doing what we need to do. Bye. You know, so it's that's so my point then becomes is the what are the tools you can do, because all the things we can't do I do with clients. Number one, you need at least one safe place. You need one person who sees you accurately. So even if you don't fully believe it, because I think people are kidding themselves if they think, no, I'm going to make this person totally believe in themselves. They'll never talk like that again. Not going to happen. Right? So she's basically saying something similar to what I said. You have people, especially therapists, who will say, oh, I'm going to give you these affirmations and you just need to believe in yourself and you need to have confidence, and it just starts with a thought. You need to change your thoughts. You need to change your mindset. But when you have these thoughts so deeply embedded, especially by a parent, right, who basically all your life made you feel like you're not good enough, you don't all of a sudden, because you're reciting affirmations, begin to feel as if you're good enough. I'm almost 50 years old. So if it took almost 50 years for me to get here, it's not going to just happen overnight because I've been saying affirmations for the last 10 years. It just doesn't work that way. This work is constant. You have to continue to do the work and work on yourself. And like Dr. Ramani, and this is one of the reasons why I could so relate, because I have published 3 books, right? I have my YouTube channel, and these are some of the thoughts I've had. Even though I've never said that out of my mouth to anyone, I was so thankful that she said it, because as confident as I am on one end, in the back of my mind, my subconscious mind is still saying, no one's going to buy those books. No one's going to watch your YouTube channel. Yet at the same time, when I get more and more subscribers, I get excited. And at the same time, like Dr. Ramani is saying, I'm just doing what I need to do to help people. This is not about me. This is not about getting attention. This is not about getting validation. This is about sharing information that I know will help people, because I wish someone had been there to help me. I wish someone was there to tell me, you know, you're doing a good job. I'm proud of you. Right? I have, oh, you still doing that? Like, as I'm earning my degree, oh, you still doing that? This is the type of feedback I would get. Oh, you just need, this job. No support, no encouragement, nothing. And again, as Dr. Ramani said, you realize it's because of other people's insecurities. It has nothing to do with you. But still, at a certain point in time, I didn't know that. And this feedback is coming from people that, they say they love you. And they are loving you from their place, right? But I remember saying, well, why don't you just tell me, I'm proud of you? And this person's like, well, nobody ever told me that. And I'm like, but I'm not you, and that shouldn't matter. If you're saying you want to be a better person, then why not do better? But people don't know that they're not. They think that this is how you're supposed to love. They think that tough love is the way that you're supposed to do it, and they don't realize that this is abusive. And I remember saying, again, before I even really got into the narcissist piece, you know, that you're being verbally abusive. And the person started crying. And I'm like, what is this? But it's a manipulation tactic. They try to make you feel bad because you've made them feel bad. But I didn't feel bad because I knew that what I was saying was correct. Again, I may not have had that word narcissist at that time, but I knew that something was wrong. And even to a point where if you go to, a narcissistic person for advice, they say, oh, yeah, I don't know, but let me tell you, I did this and I did that, and I went here and I went there. And you're sitting like, wait, I just called this person for advice, and they just somehow completely dismissed and ignored what I asked and made the conversation about themselves. How did that happen? When you don't know what's going on, it's very confusing. And then the person will cuss you out and then come back around, and you're supposed to just, be so happy and so excited to talk to them. Or they'll give you the silent treatment because this is their way of taking back control, even though they don't realize or understand that that's what they're doing. And when you get upset, sometimes they get a kick out of it because now they're in control, because they'll be the one like, oh, well, what's wrong with you? Why are you making a big deal out of it? Oh, you crazy. Let's continue reading. So again, she says, I'm going to make this person, people think, especially, people who are therapists, counselors, life coaches, any type of licensed clinical coach, whatever they are, or even people who are doing well for themselves, who were not raised in this environment. Their thought is basically, I'm going to make this person totally believe in themselves. Oh, darn. My iPad went, MacBook went dead. Let me get my phone. Hold on a second. Okay. So basically, people can think that they can just make you believe in yourself. Again, and they will give you the tools, right? You have the tools. You have to constantly keep working with those tools, but still the tools don't necessarily change the mindset because it's deeply, deeply embedded. So anyway, let me finish reading. Let me see. Okay, so I think people are kidding themselves if they think, no, I'm going to make this person totally believe in themselves. They'll never talk like that again. Not going to happen. That seed of doubt, it's like a weed in a lawn. You can do whatever unless you're going to tear up that whole lawn and resod it. There's no equivalent of that for a person, and so you carry it, but then you get plugged into meaning and purpose. You get plugged into greater support networks, and you have people tell you this is good, and they know you don't feel it, but you trust and love them. It's like they're saying it's good, and they never lied to me, so I have to believe a little of it, right? So I'm telling you that this isn't this is not stuff you solve quickly. These are this is bedrock and goes so deep into the earth you can't imagine. So it's the having the alternate source of information. It's having the people who tell you it's good. It's finding meaning and purpose because you're working on stuff that matters to you. And you put your head down. You're like, I think this is good. Like, I think it's good. I think that I get to do not that I even think it's good, but I could get to do what matters to me. But then over time, having the radical acceptance about the narcissistic person means that you know what's coming out of their mouth is a joke, and you'll forever have some grief that it got to you because you don't fully believe in yourself in other spaces, but at least you who can recognize what they're saying is a joke, it doesn't put a big finger on the scale. Does that make sense? So that's what I'm saying. This is deep and big, and there's no magical way that someone's going to turn it off and say, I'm great. And I know, again, that the translation wasn't exact. So there were some things in there because I read it exactly the way I'm seeing it. But then Lisa goes on to say, thank you for being so transparent about that. And the conversation goes on because it's a 3-hour video. But basically what she's saying is you can find purpose in life, and you can surround yourself with like-minded people who will be supportive and encouraging and loving, and you can believe to a certain extent what they're saying. But you have to have this radical acceptance about the narcissist that was in your life or that is in your life. And you have to move accordingly. And although you may not believe in yourself 100%, you can have some, some spurts of confidence, or, at least when somebody's telling you, because I just said something similar a couple of weeks ago. Somebody at work was like, oh, you're doing something good. And I was like, I'm not doing anything. Like, in my mind, it's just customer service. I'm not really doing anything of importance. I'm not really doing anything beneficial. Half the people who work there don't like me, and they think I don't know. And, they just they say little slick things behind, thinking that I don't know or understand what's going on. And I just watch them and I just pay attention, and I pretty much just ignore them. Or sometimes I might, whatever it is. But, people will try to backstab and sabotage or portray you behind the scenes thinking that you don't know. But again, I'm very intuitive, and I see what's going on. I understand what's going on, but it's not for me to say anything. It's up to them. It's for them to receive the karma that they're supposed to have for bothering somebody who's not bothering them. That's how I'm going to say that. But anyway, there are a lot of narcissistic people. And again, these could be relatives, friends, partners, co-workers, bosses, supervisors, managers, whatever it is. And of course, most people aren't going to see themselves as narcissists. And if somebody points it out to them, they're going to become very defensive. But this whole thing about the silent treatment, that's the worst thing in the world, when you're especially living with somebody and they give you the silent treatment because it doesn't make sense. But in their mind, it makes sense because it's their way of trying to gain control, because you probably said or did something that they didn't like. So now they're going to put you in check. Again, whether it's intentional or unintentional, it just helps them to feel better about whatever it is. And so one of her points is it's not personal. Doesn't mean you can't feel the way that you feel about it, because it's not hurtful. It's abuse. That is abuse. That is mental and emotional abuse for someone to give you the silent treatment. My mother gave me the silent treatment for 5 years. The first maybe year or two, I tried to reach out to her. And after a while, I just gave up. And I think that she thought that once she came back around that I was just going to be like, oh, well, whatever. But she just made me get used to not talking to her. And so it was fine with me. It's fine with me now. It's been, because then when she did, well, my son went there and my son was like, oh, y'all need to talk. And so she called me, or he called me, and she got, I don't know, however it went. But she's just talking to me like nothing ever happened. Like, yeah, I'm thinking about moving down there and blah, blah, blah. And I'm just like looking at the phone like, are you kidding me? We haven't spoke for 5 years and you just want to talk like nothing ever happened? Is this for real? And this is 2023. I think that was in 2021. Yeah, while I was out on disability with, yeah, while I was out on disability. And I was just like, wow, okay. And we haven't spoke since, because that was just crazy to me, that you really think that you're just going to sweep that under the rug. We're not going to talk about it, acknowledge it, or anything. You're just going to pretend like it never happened. Okay. That doesn't sit well with me. So basically the purpose of this video is, if you're the survivor of narcissistic abuse or the victim of narcissistic abuse, and you feel like you've done a lot to accomplish things in your life, and you still feel like you're not turning that page to get to where you want to be, don't beat yourself up about it, right? Just get the tools that you need. And for those of you who know, I am a master life coach, right? There are tools that will help get to a better place, right? Mentally, we can get to a better place, but there will still be those seeds that have been planted for months, years, even decades, that will still be there, and they aren't necessarily going to go away, as Dr. Ramani says, right? Because you can be a survivor, but just like people who are on drugs, they still call themselves addicts, right? So you'll always be a survivor. And you just have to find ways to be victorious in those moments. And it's more about serving people. Like, I'm here with a scarf on my head, and I'm not necessarily thinking about looking pretty. Like, I do see a lot of people, they want to look pretty in their videos, and that's fine, but that's not is what it's about for me. I don't care how I look. And for some people, they're like, oh, I don't want to watch that video because, this person doesn't look their best. They don't have the best lighting. The sound isn't the best. They don't have all these graphics. They didn't edit the video. But I'm being real and raw right now. Right? And yeah, you can be real and raw and have good editing and good graphics and intro and music playing in the background and all of those different things. But I'm choosing not to do that in this moment, right? Right? I'm just being very vulnerable. And for me, that's one of the things that I need help with, being vulnerable, right? So doing these videos is not only helping me, but it's helping other people, right? And so that's my purpose, to help other people. Just like when starting my business, my thought was, I've put in a countless number of applications and I'm still not even getting calls back. I'm going to start a business so that I can help someone else to never be in this situation that I've been in, where they're not able to provide for themselves and find themselves a source of income. So I'm looking forward to being in a position where I can hire people. That was my thought, right? And so again, a lot of people think, oh, well, just change your thoughts and things will start to happen. And things may happen in spurts, but then you kind of still get to those moments where they're not necessarily working the way that you would like for them to work, because this abuse is so deeply embedded. Like Dr. Ramani said, it's the bedrock. It's down deep in there. and and especially when you don't have people around you who are being supportive and encouraging. They're just saying, oh well, you should just be able to do this, and you should be able to do that, but they're not saying it from a past perspective where they understand what you're going through, or they understand what you're feeling. So that's it. I have to get ready to go. I'm getting ready to facilitate a class today, so I have to get ready to start getting ready. And so, again, I hope that this was helpful to someone. And as always, I love y'all.